They told you that power comes from outside, from status, money, institutions, or approval. They trained you to chase it, to fight for it, to prove your worth. But what if that was the greatest illusion ever sold to humanity? What if the true power, the one that bends reality and shapes timelines, was never outside you? Because it's been coded into your very being from the start. An ancient code, older than every empire, etched into pyramids, whispered through sacred chants, hidden in symbols that have outlived civilizations. It's not a metaphor. This code exists. And whether you know it or not, it's been trying to reach you, through dreams you can't explain, through the patterns that keep repeating, through that subtle inner voice that refuses to stay silent. For centuries, it was buried, not because it was powerless, but because it was too powerful. Religions feared it, systems distorted it, empires tried to erase it, but you can't kill truth. You can only hide it, for a while. And now, it's resurfacing, because the world is finally ready to remember. If you stay with me until the end, I'll help you remember what was stolen from you. I'll show you how to read the signs, decode the hidden language, and activate a force that's been waiting for your permission. Not just to change your life, but to ripple into the collective field. Because the moment you awaken this code, the world begins to rearrange around you. Let's begin. It's curious. Civilizations that never met, separated by oceans and thousands of years, repeated the same symbols and spoke of the same universal truths. From Egyptian hieroglyphs to Mayan inscriptions, from Norse runes to Chinese ideograms. It's as if they were all whispering the same message, like a secret code echoing through time. This isn't coincidence. This is a pattern, and patterns don't lie. Once you start connecting these dots, a history far older than the official narrative begins to emerge. Imagine a perfect circle carved in stone 5,000 years ago, and that same circle appearing in a temple more than 6,000 miles away. To the untrained eye, it's just ancient art. But for those who know what to look for, it's a fragment of something bigger, a symbol carrying vibrational information, intact through millennia. It's as if our ancestors left us a letter in time, certain that one day someone would understand. And these letters weren't just in stones and walls. They lived in music, in myths, in the daily rituals of these cultures. The same idea of vital energy appears in the Chinese concept of qi, the Indian prana, the Egyptian ka. Different words, same essence. Which means that even when isolated, they were all plugged into the same source. And that source is still here, waiting to be accessed. Perhaps what they were trying to tell us wasn't just about the outer world, but about ourselves. Perhaps they wanted to remind us of something we could never lose, unless we were taught to forget. And when you realize these clues survived wars, fires, and deliberate erasure, you have to wonder, what else might still be hiding in plain sight, waiting to be decoded? Look at an Egyptian pyramid, then look at a Mayan pyramid. Different continents, centuries apart, yet the mathematics behind them is almost identical. This isn't just engineering, it's a geometric language about proportion, harmony, and alignment with the stars. These monuments weren't built just to impress. They were built as bridges between the human and the divine. Every stone, every angle, seems to carry an intentional vibration. And it's not just pyramids. Notice the mandalas of the East, the rose windows of Gothic cathedrals, the intricate floors of Islamic temples. Sacred geometry is everywhere, repeating patterns like the flower of life, the Metatron's cube, the Fibonacci sequence. Across cultures, sacred art isn't decorative, it's a visual code. When you contemplate it, something inside you responds, as if recognizing the signature of something far older. If you've ever stood in front of such a work, you know the feeling, a mix of reverence and familiarity. It's like finding a lost page from a book you swear you've read before. Some feel peace, Others feel an urgent pull to search for more. That's because these symbols speak to the subconscious. They don't need translation to be understood, and that's precisely where their power lies. And here's something even more intriguing. Many of these sites were built with exact alignment to astronomical events, solstices, equinoxes, specific constellations, as if the builders wanted to remind us that we are part of a much larger cosmic system. But why was this connection between heaven and earth so vital to them? When you start studying the world's oldest spiritual traditions, you notice something fascinating. They all talk, in their own way, about the same laws that govern reality. The Egyptians called them Hermetic principles. In Hinduism, they were the laws of Dharma. The Greek philosophers spoke of the Logos. Different names, same structure. It's as if there's an invisible alphabet describing how energy, matter, and consciousness interact. These laws aren't the invention of a single culture or era. They appear in Taoism, shamanism, Buddhism, Hermeticism, Kabbalah, like a golden thread weaving through civilizations that never met. And perhaps that's the clearest proof they're not local beliefs but universal truths. After all, how else could people with no contact reach the same conclusions about vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect? The most striking part is that these laws aren't confined to temples or ancient manuscripts. They apply to everyday life. Once you understand that the law of vibration influences your emotions and decisions, or that the law of correspondence shows how your inner world mirrors your outer world, you start seeing patterns where you once saw coincidences. It's as if the universe has been speaking to you all along, but in a language you're only now starting to recognize. And here's the real key. These laws aren't meant to be understood only in theory. They're meant to be lived. That's when the code activates, when you stop treating them as abstract concepts and start testing them in real life. But for many, access to this knowledge has been deliberately made difficult, and that's not by accident. If this universal code was present in so many cultures, why is it rarely spoken of today? The answer isn't romantic. Throughout history, empires, religions, and governments realized this kind of wisdom made people autonomous, and autonomous people are hard to control. So libraries were burned, temples destroyed, teachers persecuted, and spiritual practices labeled as superstition or heresy. The evidence of this destruction is undeniable. The Library of Alexandria, holding knowledge from countless civilizations, was reduced to ashes. Hermetic texts vanished mysteriously. Indigenous peoples were forbidden from practicing their rituals. This wasn't an accident, it was a strategy. If you cut people off from who they truly are and the power they hold, they become dependent on external systems for survival and guidance. But knowledge is like water. It always finds a way. It survived disguised in stories, myths, symbols, and hidden between the lines of sacred texts. Those who could read between the lines saw it. Those who could hear the unspoken understood it. And that's why, despite every attempt to destroy it, the code is still alive, scattered in fragments, waiting to be reassembled. What's even more intriguing is that even without direct exposure to these teachings, many people feel a kind of memory when they hear them, as if something dormant inside recognizes the truth. But what if that memory isn't lost at all? Just hidden, living within you? Have you ever had that feeling of, I already knew this, even though you've never studied it before? That's the subtlest sign that the code isn't out there. It's inside you. It's in your intuition, in dreams that feel like messages, in the coincidences that repeat until you can't ignore them anymore. It's as if your very essence holds a map, and every life experience is a trigger point that lights up another part of it. Modern science brushes against this idea when it talks about genetic memory and fields of information. Your ancestors didn't just pass on physical traits, they left you an energetic legacy, an invisible data package influencing your instincts, perceptions, and even your choices. When you meditate, connect with nature, or enter deep states of presence, you're unknowingly tapping into parts of this internal archive. That's why certain practices feel like they click with you faster than others. Maybe it's music, dance, writing, silence. It's not just personal taste, it's memory resonating. Each person has a unique key to unlock this door, and the secret is noticing what brings you peace, focus, or that electric thrill of being exactly where you're meant to be. That's not random. That's alignment with your personal code. And once you start recognizing these signs, something shifts. The world stops feeling like a random sequence of events and starts revealing itself as a constant dialogue between you and this ancient wisdom. But knowing the code is within you is just the first step. The real challenge is, how do you decode it in everyday life? Decoding the code doesn't require moving to a mountain or spending years studying dusty scrolls. It's in the little things, the patterns that repeat in your life, the coincidences that appear when you're aligned, the opportunities that seem to arrive as soon as your energy shifts. Observation is the first step. Think of it like becoming a detective of your own existence, each clue leading you to a deeper level of understanding. For example, maybe you keep seeing the same sequence of numbers, or certain people cross your path repeatedly. To most, it's just curiosity. But to someone who understands the code, these are signs that a specific frequency is active in their life. That's the moment to decide whether to reinforce it or adjust your vibration to open new pathways. A simple practice is to record these signs daily. It could be in a notebook or your phone. The key is building awareness. By tracking patterns, dreams, and intuitions, you start to see the connecting thread between events that once seemed unrelated. That's the code speaking to you, and the more attention you give it, the clearer its message becomes. And here's the fascinating part. Once you start practicing this, answers arrive in unexpected ways. A book that accidentally falls into your hands, a casual conversation that delivers exactly what you needed to hear, an idea that comes out of nowhere. But what really happens when you live fully aligned with this code? When you activate the code within you, the changes aren't just internal, they ripple through every area of your life. Relationships become more authentic, decisions clearer, and opportunities appear at the perfect time. It's not that luck suddenly showed up. It's that you've become magnetic to what resonates with your highest frequency. The world responds differently when you vibrate differently. This activation also transforms how you see challenges. What once felt like insurmountable obstacles now appear as tests, stepping stones to your next level. It's as if the code reorganizes your perspective, turning frustration into fuel and fear into a green light. Instead of reacting on autopilot, you start consciously choosing your responses. Those who've experienced this describe a sense of flow, business deals closing faster, meaningful connections appearing out of nowhere, the body feeling stronger, creativity exploding. And perhaps most striking, a quiet peace begins to settle in, not because problems disappear, but because your relationship to them has changed. You stop feeling like a victim of circumstances and step into your role as a co-creator of your story. And at this point, something inevitable happens. You realize this power isn't just for your personal gain. It carries a greater calling, an invitation to use this clarity and strength in ways that contribute to something beyond yourself. And that's where the role of the modern guardians begins. When you rediscover this code, you eventually see that it was never meant to be just about you. It always had a collective dimension. Modern guardians aren't mystical figures in robes carrying staffs. They're everyday people who choose to live aligned with these universal laws, inspiring others through their example. It's in daily choices, in the way they speak, in how they move through chaos with grounded presence. Being a guardian means understanding that knowledge without action is just information. When you put what you know into practice, you create ripples far beyond your immediate circle. It could be something big, like leading a project that changes lives, or something small, like offering a word of encouragement at the exact moment someone needs it. Either way, the energy generated expands, strengthening the invisible network of awakening. This calling doesn't come with a manual. It arrives as an inner impulse, almost a sense of mission, that drives you to act even without all the answers. And the more you respond to it, the more the code reveals itself. It's a cycle of reciprocity. You feed the code with your actions, and it feeds you with clarity and strength. And perhaps the most important question is this: how many more people need to awaken before this network becomes strong enough to shift the course of humanity? Because if you've made it this far, there's a good chance you've already felt that the next move is yours. Now that you know this code exists, and that it's been with you all along, the real question is, what will you do with it? Will you let it fade back into the background noise of life? Or will you start decoding the signs, the patterns, the whispers that have been waiting for your attention? Imagine what your life could look like if every decision, every step, every opportunity was aligned with this ancient blueprint. How much faster would you grow? How much more magnetic would you become to the people, the moments, the experiences that are meant for you? The code isn't activated by thinking about it. It comes alive when you live it. So, what's the first shift you're going to make today? What's one thing you can do right now to align your energy with the life you know deep down is yours to claim? If this message spoke to you, if you felt even a spark of recognition, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. We're just getting started, and you don't want to miss what's coming next. Because once you step into this path, there's no going back.